What is up, Knoll Nation? It is Plant the Spirit. We are live talking about this massive week one we have in college football. Of course, you know that is headlined by Florida State, Alabama. We are going to break all that down today. We're going to talk about the depth chart reactions because it set a little bit of a fire to social media there, Michael. And then, of course, we're going to talk about all these week one games we got coming up because, as we know, Florida State, Alabama is the one we're excited about. But Michael, this is a park your butt on the couch type of Saturday that you can't miss some of these games. So, man, just really excited to get into this. Even the little intro there, just seeing Doak and hearing the band, the marching Chiefs, man. I think more than anything, I'm just excited for Saturday. We're just a couple days away, man. So it's really now's when the butterflies start flowing, right?
Mhm.
Everybody's talked about the games. Everybody's ready to go. So, man, just really excited to get into this one. We're going to be taking some listener questions as well as comments. So you guys throw it up there in the chat. And man, let's go.
I love it. Super excited, man. It's finally football, finally Florida State week. It's going to be awesome. Been waiting for this all summer long. Been thinking about it, praying about it. Can't sleep, can't eat, ruminating over and over and over again. We're finally here, man. I can't wait.
Let's do it, man. So, getting into this, we got a couple of people in the chat. Just want to say hey to you guys here. Love what you're doing at PTS. The nation has us losing FSU. Yes, man. Just want to be competitive the entire game. Win or lose, Saturday's ever so close. Go Noles. You are right, man. Everybody, I was actually watching a preview of the week one games before this because I've been just so really wrapped up in Florida State, Alabama. I really haven't had a chance to kind of look at some of those other matchups. And I started to get kind of pissed off, and I turned one of them off. I think it was maybe the On Three or something like that, or whoever it is, JD Pickell and them. And they were talking about like Bama's probably going to run away for this with this. It might be one of them where you're just kind of looking for something else to watch
Right.
on Saturday. And so, like, man, I don't love hearing all that. I think Florida State's going to surprise some people, man. We got some things to cover in this. Why Florida State might can pull this upset off, but at the end of the day, Michael, I understand that this is a monumental challenge here that Florida State has ahead of them to start the 2025 season. We were really excited about this one when it got scheduled. I think after last year, most of us probably would have been like, can we just punt that down the road just a little bit? But at the same time, man, like there's no better way to come out and figure out who you got or what you got as a team than with a challenge like this. And I think
Yeah.
it really does set the tone for the season. If you can get a win in this game, it would be massive for just the rest of the season. If you come out and you get kind of blown out, it's really going to be a downer on the season. So this is a tone setter. And again, you get them at home, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. There's some weather chance that obviously we got to pay attention to. We're going to talk about here in a minute. But man, what better way to come out and start the season? I guess depending on how it goes, than with a test like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no better way. When this game got scheduled and we saw it, we were super excited. Man, Florida State, Alabama, this is what college football is all about. Two powerhouse perennial programs going head to head. They're coming to Doak first. Obviously we return the trip next year to Bryant-Denny Stadium. Obviously at the time we were thinking, yeah, Mike's getting this program up and running. It's going to be awesome. And then coming off of 2-10, it kind of, we were all hoping that maybe the football gods would somehow cancel this game or
Yeah.
not blow up Alabama, but somehow remove it to a new planet and we didn't have to play them or some facet of that nature. But you know what? Now that it's here, man, let's go. This is an opportunity for Florida State to make a mark. Right, to say, hey, 2-10 was an aberration. That was a fluke. That can't happen again. This is a different team. They have a puncher's chance to pull the upset. And if they do, oh man, what that would do for the fan base, what that would do for confidence, program, just getting it back to where it is. There's so much, riding on this game. And one of the things we talked about, Jesse, in the offseason, a lot about how this is a defining game for Mike Norvell. I mean, that has to weigh heavily on him. This game means way more to his longevity at Florida State than any other game has ever meant.
Yeah, we talked about that in the offseason, with is Alabama the most important game for Mike Norvell in his tenure at Florida State?
Right.
And I think unequivocally it is because of what has happened. You had the bad thing for Mike Norvell, and again, we're both rooting for Mike Norvell. We both want this to
Right.
work. We both want him, to rebuild this program and, or well, rebuild this
Right.
program. But man, you had so much goodwill with the fan base coming off of 2023. And then last year, you just kind of burned that bridge down. And so this is a massive game for Mike Norvell's perception. I don't even know that he has to go out and win it. But if you get boat raced in this one, it's
Yeah.
going to, oh, woe is me. You got 3 weeks that you're not going to move the needle, maybe even 4 until you get to that Miami game. So, like, this is huge for him. Now, this is also huge for Kalen DeBoer. I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking about a team that missed the playoffs for the first time last year, had a 9-win season with 4 losses, got beat by Vanderbilt. You know, everybody's like, okay, well, he's not Saban, but, you know, let's see it. Let's see it in year 2. And it aggravates me that people look at this game a certain way because of Florida State, what they did last year, right? It annoys me to be like, oh, well, you know, if you lose to FSU, like, okay, man, well, chill now. We were 13-0
That's
2
right.
years ago.
That's right.
But realistically, if you lose to an ACC team from their perspective that went 2-10 last year, they're going to break the pitchforks out in Alabama and be ready to run him out of town. But, you know, here highlighting a comment where it says, Bama fans keep talking about 2-10. Last I checked, we were 0-0 and hopefully 1-1 after Saturday. And, you know, man, I think that's really the one place that you got to start, right? Is the depth chart just came out, and now Florida State lists 23 positions because they have 2 running backs there.
That's right.
Michael, there are 21 out of 23 spots that have new starters listed. You know, Roydell Williams, because I went back and I pulled up the depth chart from the Georgia Tech game.
Okay.
And Roydell Williams is the only offensive starter that returns, and Darrell Jackson is the only defensive starter that returns. You got 7 out of 10 new position coaches, new analysts off the field. This is a new team. And so I think it's really, you know, you can just see you should expect a different season, right? That's kind of what I'm looking at here. So we're going to dive in and talk about this game. This is kind of a funny comment here. So I've been sleeping with my cleats on for 2 nights, strike up the band and plant the spear. I love it, man. I'm telling you, like, I'm getting ready. I put a new sticker on the car today for the drive down, got everything ready to go, man. And so our guy Henry here says, Michael, I'm drinking the entire jug of Kool-Aid.
Let's go, Henry.
I was messaging Henry, who's a tribe member on our channel. So shout out to him for that. We were messaging on Instagram the other day, and I was like, yeah, man, I'm sipping. I don't know that I'm gulping, but I'm sipping. That's for sure. So yeah, man, I think really, you know, when we get into this and we talk about it, right? Let's start by just setting the stage for this game. Obviously, we know Alabama at Florida State in a newly renovated Doak Campbell Stadium, 3:30 p.m. probably on Saturday. We'll see. We might get that night game that we wanted after all, Michael, with some of the thunderstorms. And the weather that we talked about here is the high. I just checked before we jumped on. The high is 83, so that's pretty decent. But there's an 85% chance of rain, 90% during the daytime. So it sounds like it's going to be rain, and it's thunderstorms. You know, it's not really a surprise that it's going to rain in Florida in the afternoon, right? That's not a surprise. But at the same time, it just depends on how hard that rain is, right? Is this like a light afternoon shower? Is this the type of, you know, the first rain game that comes back to my mind, Michael, is the one where Stanford Samuels ended Ross Parrish's life on the field.
Gosh, I remember,
you know,
that.
in the rain. So, you know, that's something that I'm just kind of wondering how it's going to be, because, you know, the thing with a rain game, Michael, we kind of were talking about this earlier, is that can work in both ways, right? Absolutely. I mean, you would think as a run first team, that obviously helps you a little bit, right?
Right.
But there's also, if you can throw the ball, if it's not too wet to throw the ball, there are some advantages to the passing side too, where a wide receiver knows where he's going to break that route. A DB doesn't necessarily know that. And so, you know, you might have a slip and fall that leads to a big play or something like that. So, but I would have to think if it is a torrential downpour, I think that probably helps the run heavy team. And so that could be something to watch, something that plays into our advantage there. But man, it could be a torrential downpour on Saturday. We'll have to wait and see.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie. I already bought the ponchos.
Yeah.
I already prepped myself. Honestly, if I'm being real, I want it to torrentially downpour. I just don't want it to lightning. If it doesn't lightning and we get just pour rain, man, talk about how the skill position players basically almost get taken out of it, and it becomes a who's tougher up front on the offensive line, whose running back can make a difference, and whose quarterback doesn't turn over the ball. Man, you talk about a rainstorm that gives Florida State even ample more than a puncher's chance. Now you're moving up maybe to a welterweight chance, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind a rainstorm. I think it gives Florida State a better chance at pulling the upset. And I'm not saying they can't pull the upset without the rain, but I'm just saying it would help.
Yeah, I think from a fan's perspective, I'll be a little disappointed, looking forward to some tailgate and stuff like that. But I've been through some rain games before. I think the last one I was in, gosh, it's been a really long time. Florida State played Western Carolina way back in the day, and we won that game 69-0.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's Western Carolina. This isn't Alabama. But it actually, after I think the game started 4 hours late or something like that. And it was just nasty rain and thunder and lightning. But it was fun. Once we got through it, the student section stayed. Once we were all wet, we didn't care. And so I don't think the rain is going to kill the energy at all in Doak on Saturday. And, I just want to say here, Henry says that, man, I'm tired of hearing the disrespect. And
Absolutely.
I'm with you, man. It's like, I think, man, I really think that Florida State, I've been watching the player interviews and I've been watching some of the clips that came, you saw the guys like running and just excited for practice today. Man, I really do think there is a renewed sense of energy. I think there's a renewed kind of swagger with this team.
Yep.
And all that means nothing if you don't go out on the field and prove it. But like, we
Correct.
didn't really hear any of this stuff last year. We didn't hear anything. 2023, with Jared Verse and Trey Benson and all those guys were jaw jacking every day at practice.
Absolutely.
And, so now you're kind of hearing guys that are excited. You hear Daryl Jackson today talk about in his thing, they're talking about, the game against Alabama. He's like, look, man, we're Florida State. We're built for a game. Like, we're built for big games too. We just got to go out and handle our own business. Yeah. And that's really been the common messaging around them is like, look, you prepared for this. You just trust your training, go out there and play, and everybody have each other's back. And if we go out and fight together, we can win this game. And so I like it, man. I mean, again, you got to go back it up on the field. But I like the little bit of the renewed sense of confidence, and I like the renewed sense of energy and excitement among the players.
Yeah, I think so too. Listen, I mean, again, this is Florida State, Alabama, right? This is Florida State. We were 3-time national champion. We got 3 Heisman trophies. We put a plethora of players in the NFL. We've had undefeated streaks. We've had undefeated seasons. We've been top 14 or top 5 in the for 14 straight years, which hasn't even been repeated yet. No team has done it, right? Only 2 teams in the history of college football have gone wire to wire as number 1 teams. Us and I think it's Alabama or USC. I think it would probably USC. No one has done it, right? And so, like, we are a prestigious football program. We should not be afraid of moments like this. And the fact that those players are kind of going into this game feeling the energy, the surge, and they're just trying to get after it. I mean, you want that type. You want this kind of game to produce that kind of attitude. Like, hey, I don't care if you're not Bama. I'm here to put my foot in your throat, right? I'm here to make sure that you feel us. You feel the Noles. You feel the Seminole Nation, right? And every hit, every tackle, every catch, every run, everything, every block, man, it comes with force. It comes with passion. It comes with fight. That's what you want to see in this team. And you didn't see that. You didn't hear a lot about that last year. Some of it was, Mike Norvell fabricating some of that, but to see it and hear it now, absolutely. Let's go.
Yeah. And I think that's huge, right? So last year, just the effort, the energy, and the attitude just wasn't there. And sometimes, man, that just playing hard can really make such a massive difference. And, all the things that you mentioned there are great. And of course, people will go, well, this is not that Florida State. And I understand that, but this also isn't last year's Florida State either. This is an entirely different team. But, Michael, it's funny because I've heard some comments back and forth about, the things that Tommy said and Bama's going to play harder or whatever. I don't buy into that, right? First off, if you as a player are not excited for a game like this, then I don't know that some comment made 2 months ago or whatever it was is really going to fire you up. Now, maybe it's a little extra bulletin board material, but man, I think when you talk about for Florida State, I think everybody coming out and basically just saying you have no chance in this game, you're going to lose, you're going to get wiped off the field, blown out, all that type of stuff.
Right.
I think that puts a chip on Florida State's shoulder just as much as it does anything else. And so, I really think that with a closed camp and everything, they've really kind of rallied the troops around each other. And man, I just really hope that they say all the right things. They do all the right things. But my biggest question is, how do you respond when you get punched in the mouth? Because last year's team did not handle adversity well. So it all sounds great before kickoff. But, if you go into halftime and you're down 10 points, how do you respond? How do you stay
Yeah.
in the game? That is the one big thing that I'm watching for in this team, because I think you do have stronger coaches this year. And I don't mean just from an X's and O's standpoint. I mean from like an aura standpoint. I
Yeah.
think you have better leadership on the team this year. And really, when adversity strikes, that's when you're going to see that type of stuff make a difference. And so that's the one thing I'm really looking at in this game and throughout the season. But man, when we talk about it here, this is a game where Florida State is not even remotely picked by just about anybody except for those in Tallahassee and those in Garnet and Gold. Spread is 13.5 points. Bama being the favorite there, over under at 50.5. Your implied score, if you break that down, is around 32-19. Man, when you look at Bama fans, they are very confident they are going to wipe the field with Florida State. And so it's going to be real interesting if you come out and maybe you can kind of punch them in the mouth in the first quarter and just see how they respond. I think that's important too.
Yeah.
Money line, 91% of bets on Bama, 78% of the money on Bama, 72% of the bets got Bama covering the spread, 75% of the money have them covering the spread. And PFF gives you an 18.3% win percentage and ESPN at 9.4. So, man, again, everybody in the room is telling you what you can't do, that you don't have a chance.
Right.
And again, we talked about this in the last show, and I don't plan on just having a repeat of the Alabama preview here. But man, I still come back to getting that 2022 LSU feeling. You can't win, LSU don't lose in the Superdome. You can't stop Keyshawn Butte, Brian Kelly this and LSU talent and blue chip that. And all you did was go out and beat them in their backyard. Right. And Keyshawn Butte pretty much didn't do anything the whole game. So everything that they said you couldn't do, you did. And so, man, that's why I don't listen to the narratives. But the hard part about this team is there's so much new that we all have a good feeling about it.
Yep.
We just don't know what it's going to look like until you actually see it on the field. And that is the part that kind of makes you nervous, because we won't know until Saturday. And you're going to find out against, love them, hate them, whatever you want to say about them. Bama still is one of the top tier programs in the country.
Absolutely. Listen, I mean, you get on the field and you'll figure out exactly what it is that you got in your team. I mean, you're going to know one way or another, and there are a lot of different, vibes or feelings about what this team could and can't be based on your blue chip ratio, based on transfer portal, based on history, based on all those things. Well, guess what? All that comes to a head on the field against Alabama, right? We're going to find out about Alabama too. I mean, they're being, touted as probably one of the likely best 16 teams in the country that are going to make the playoff. They're, people are talking about how amazing their offensive line with all the draft picks there, that the secondary is supposed to be one of the best secondaries in the country, that obviously we know that wide receiver room is skilled beyond belief, right? That their defensive line, we heard today that they've lost another defensive lineman or another player that's going to be out for the game, or maybe not fully there for the game. So we hear all of that, but the rubber meets the road when you get on that field. When that ball gets kicked off, all the prognosticators, all the talking heads like you and I, like, that's all out. It now gets shown on the field. And it, I mean, as the young kids say, that it's time to call in the receipts, right? And somebody's going to have the receipts and somebody's not. And hopefully at the end of that game, it's Florida State holding all the receipts and Alabama walking out of here going to jail because they tried to steal something.
I hope so. Now, let's go ahead and you already kind of led into it, right? Let's go ahead and talk about the injury updates, because, man, this is really becoming a storyline of this game. Yeah. Now, you already know what's going to happen, right? I was talking to somebody about this earlier. The excuse train is already going to start rolling. Like, maybe Florida State wins, maybe Florida State doesn't. But if they do, you're going to hear the same thing already, right? Oh, well, if they had X, Y, and Z. And it's like, man, cry me a river. You got the number one most talented roster in the country. 3 players being down.
Right.
Shouldn't really change the outcome of a game when you already have a 25% higher blue chip ratio. Now, with that being said, I do think it's going to have an effect on the outcome of the game.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, man, there's been some pretty key updates in this. And I want to start by saying that we don't ever wish anyone to be injured, right? Obviously, you hope these guys have a quick recovery and everything, but I think, man, you have to talk about these because they're huge. And so we already knew about Jaden Roberts, offensive lineman, their starting right guard. Looks like he's not going to be available for this game. That's kind of the word on the street. Now, he has not been formally ruled out,
Right.
but it does sound like he's not going to be available for this. If it is, he hasn't really practiced at all. So I don't know how like near 100% he's going to be. And you know what I find interesting about that one, Michael, is from the people that I've talked to and the press conferences that I've listened to, they feel confident. Of course, they're going to say that, but they feel confident in the guys that can step in there and kind of fill in those gaps, right? You have Cam Dewberry, Texas A&M transfer, that's going to step in there. You got Geno Vandemark, who played for them last year, who's going to step in. But you're still down a guy, right? And he was one of their better offensive linemen last year. And Kalen DeBoer did say in his presser that, like, look, the starting five is who we want out there. And so I've seen where if they have an offensive line have to come out, out of the game, they could be turning to like I think it's a redshirt freshman or a freshman or redshirt sophomore, a young guy who's not that experienced. So,
Yeah.
Man, DeBoer talked about how Caden Proctor got hurt in like a pregame warmup last year, and then their center lost his helmet on the first play, so they're just like scrambling to shuffle people. Man, all it takes is one of these offensive linemen to go down in the first half, and you could be rolling with a fresh backup there. So, I think this is probably the loss when you look at what they can replace it with that hurts the least. But nonetheless, man, it's still a loss for an offensive line that was already replacing 2 starters, and now they look like they're probably going to have to replace 3.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, first of all, the Keenan guy, the Roberts guy, they're not like, as you said, I think you said they're not 100% ruled out. And knowing our luck, it'll be, they're probably not going to play. They're not going to play. And sure enough, look at them boys rolling out on the field, fully dressed up, ready to go. Right. So, I mean, the injuries matter. And I know Alabama fans are basically holding their breath now that they don't get any more injury news. I mean, we are holding our breath because
I hope we got all our guys in bubble wrap this week.
Exactly. Because, the depth, for that, especially our defensive line is shaky at best. And so both teams, both fan bases are just saying, gosh, please, can we have no more injuries, especially Alabama? Yeah. But the thing, I texted you this earlier today, and joking, but really and truthful as well too, is that for every 5-star that gets injured at Alabama, they just kind of roll another one out or a high 4-star, right? Because they've obviously had the recruiting legacy and prowess to be able to do that. So whoever's coming behind whoever's out, they may not be experienced or have all the practice, but they're talented. And so Florida State just needs to focus on themselves. Like, let's not worry about who's in and who's out. The fans will worry about who's in and who's out, but they just need to focus on how are they going to execute the game plan? How are they going to attack Ty Simpson? How are they going to try to limit Ryan Williams and the Bernard kid, the wide receiver, and how they're going to try to attack that defense and keep that defense off schedule so that they can actually move the ball and score points.
Yeah, it shouldn't change anything for the players, right? Or the coaches or the game plan or anything like that. But at the same time, when I text you about the Keenan guy, and we'll talk about that one now, I know maybe tongue in cheek or not when you said they can just replace it with a high 4 or 5-star, man. In this one instance, I go contrary to what you say, right? Because yes, what you said was true, right? I went and looked them up. The backup is a top 100 national kid. He's a very talented guy, right? But with Tim Keenan, their starting nose tackle right now, he's not officially been ruled out, right? But Brent McMurphy reported he's got to have tightrope surgery. I'm not a doctor. I don't really know what that is.
Yeah.
But they said he's going to miss at least a couple of games. So it does sound like he's going to be out. And regardless, you were right that they are going to roll out a talented 4-star. But, man, this is a massive loss if he is not able to go. And even if he's not able to go, and it doesn't sound like he is, he's not going to be 100%. Because you're talking about a guy here, when I looked it up, we talk about WAR all the time on here, wins above replacement. This is a 5th-year senior, team captain, second-team preseason All-American, started 25 games over the past 2 years, 3rd highest-graded defender last year, highest-graded returning defensive lineman. The guy that Alabama 247 or whatever they're called said that is going to be his most likely replacement is a 6'4", 314-pound redshirt freshman who has played 30 snaps in college. That's a really big difference, right? I mean, you can be as talented as you want. You can be a bull in a china shop, but that doesn't mean that experience, knowing where to go, knowing where to line up, not, kind of folding under the moment. 25, this guy has started almost as many games as that guy has played snaps. And so, man, I think if he truly can't go, and it doesn't sound like he can, again, we don't ever wish for injuries, but once these things start stacking up, this makes a really, really big difference. Because the other thing I will say about this defensive lineman, right, is we had talked about in our preview, and I had talked about with the guy that I did the Alabama interview, that maybe the one area that Alabama had some concerns was depth on that defensive line. He said the way, when I asked him, I said, hey, how? So it sounds like this defense is pretty good. If you were Florida State's offensive coordinator, how would you attack that defense? And he said, man, I would hit the edges with run plays. I would throw screens. I would get these defensive linemen moving, because if you can run them out of gas, big dude's only got so much gas in the tank, right? Once you're gassed, you're gassed.
Yep.
And so to me, if you already have a little bit of depth concerns and Gus Malzahn is trying to wear you down anyway on that defense, this is just one less guy you have for depth. It's one less really big impact guy you have on the line. And so to me, I know Jam Miller's a big one, but if this guy can't go, I think this might be the single biggest injury of the three, right? Because our biggest question coming into this game was, how's this offensive line going to hold up? And so it only helps.
Yeah. I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. It helps to have an advantage. If there's a hole in that supposed vaunted offensive line for Alabama, that helps us. What my point and what I'm saying is, yeah, it helps, but they're going to roll out another 5-star player. And I mean, I look back on 2013 when, a 5-star quarterback who had never started a game, never had any experience, only, went out and only had 2 incompletions and they didn't even touch the ground. And the dude lit up Pitt like that, right? So like there's a potential that a 5-star backup who doesn't have a lot of experience can actually go out and probably play potentially just as good, if not maybe better, right? That the potential is there. Now, yes, the experience is not there, and so that matters. And so if Tony White takes advantage of that and tries to attack Alabama in that way, it could totally be helpful. But man, Alabama's got those kinds of players that they're just littered in the closet. And so for Florida State, the idea is, let's not worry about who's going to be not playing or who's going to be playing. Let's just make sure we focus that we have our schemes. We have the way we want to attack, the way we want to get through it. That matters the most. And just as new to this says, like, the trenches is where the game is going to be won and lost. And so if that's a possibility, if the possibility that this guy's going to be out, well then, man, we've got to make sure we're doing everything we can to confuse that line of scrimmage, to get them off kilter, to bring those exotic blitzes. I have a worry a little bit that, Tony might actually have maybe a vanilla plan, just because, from what it has sounded like from camp, he hasn't sounded too enthusiastic about some of the play of the defense. And so maybe he doesn't come with so much exotic because maybe don't fully understand it yet. And if that's the case, then I worry that we won't be able to put as much pressure on Bama as we need to be. So the offensive line matters, but the scheme, I think, is going to matter the most.
No, I don't disagree. I'm just saying, when you look at, like, Florida State is without Kevin Wynn in this game.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that's not good. But what if you had Kevin Wynn and you lost Darrell Jackson? That's a whole different conversation. And technically, Kevin Wynn, I don't know, he's probably a higher rated recruit than Darrell Jackson was. So that's just what I'm saying, is there's no replacement for game experience. But then, of course, the last one we got to touch on real quick is Jam Miller, starting running back for Alabama, is out as well. We already know he's going to miss this game. And again, man, I think that's really big. Not so much from an actual run game standpoint, because, again, Bama does have a lot of blue chip guys they can bring in behind a pretty decent offensive line there. I think where you're really going to feel this one is in pass protection, is in blocking, is in making sure you get the right calls on the field, because you already have an inexperienced quarterback with Ty Simpson, who's going to be in charge of setting everything up. Now they have a really good experienced center, so that's going to help them kind of tie things down. But, if you're back there and you're supposed to pick up this blitzer and you're supposed to see this look coming, and maybe you don't see it, but the running back does. Maybe that running back picks up the wrong guy on the blitz protection. To me, it's all these little things that add up when you're Florida State, because when you're an overmatched, on paper, you're an overmatched team, you're looking for every little nook and cranny that you can expose to try and win this game.
Yep.
Now, one of the things that kind of poured some salt in my Kool-Aid the other day, that you text me, was apparently Alabama has not lost a season opener since 2001.
Nope.
So that rained all over my parade. But you know me, I'm not going to go down without a fight here. And so I replied to you that out of 23 games, 11 of those were against non-Power 5 teams. Basically, before Saban got there, they were playing Western Kentucky's and Middle Tennessee States and all that. They started playing some Power 4 teams when Saban got there, but they were pretty much already a dynasty. But this is going to be this is the first game that Alabama non-conference Power 4 road game that they're going to open the season with since I think it was 2000 or 2001 when they lost that season opener. Yep. So, they were 2-4 outside of Bryant-Denny. The last Power 4 team they took on the road. Now they did play Missouri in 2020, but I think the way they say is that was not a scheduled originally. I guess COVID probably switched some things up.
Right.
But man, the last time they opened against a Power 4 opponent in a true road game, I know it was 23 years ago, but they did lose that game. So that is maybe we can get some home team magic there. DeBoer is 4-1 in openers as a Division I head coach. He did lose one there at Fresno State. But Michael, the other thing interesting that I had texted you out of that was, hey, buddy, just hop on the Gus bus, right? Gus Malzahn, I went back and looked it up since 2013 when he took over as head coach. He is 11-1 in season openers. And the only season opener he lost at Auburn there was to number 2 Clemson by 6 points. And that was the year Clemson was coming off the national title. And in that stretch, he beat 3 ranked teams. He's 6-1 in openers as an offensive coordinator. The one loss that he had was his very first game as an OC back in 2009 at Arkansas against a number 6 Southern California team. So for every little bit that Bama's good, hey, the Gus bus is rolling into town, buddy, and he's pretty good in season openers too. He ain't no Brian, he ain't no Brian Kelly and LSU like 0-5 in season openers, just can't win for nothing. So man, this is going to be like a, what's the saying, the unstoppable force and the immovable object. We're gonna clash it, and we're gonna see how this thing goes, man.
Yeah, no, listen, I mean, those are great numbers and those are fun numbers. And we know that those numbers will have no impact on the game whatsoever, but it's fun to look at. It's fun to try to find the little nuggets of hope that we're looking for. Well, let me give you a nugget that will put more salt in your Kool-Aid. Mike Norvell has been a Florida State head coach for 5 years, right? Is that correct? Yeah. Yep. And in those 5 years, Mike Norvell is 2-3 in season openers. 2-3. Right? He's 2-3. He won in 2022 and 23. Absolutely. At home openers, Mike Norvell is 1-2. He's 2-3 again in home openers, right? If you go back and look at that. So like those numbers, they're so fun to like, oh, hope, oh, not hope, oh, hope, oh, not hope, right? But the thing I just want to see is what version of Gus Malzahn, Mike Norvell, and Tony White do we get out of this, right?
Yeah.
Like we know that Mike Norvell, we everybody knows. We don't need to talk about how, what this means, because we already know what this means for Mike. How is he going to come out? What's his demeanor? How has he been coaching this team? How has he been getting the fight out of them in this and how is he, in his own way, going to exercise those home opener demons,
Yeah. He's got demons, period, let alone home openers or whatever. He's got demons to exercise too. But I also think, I was talking about this with somebody earlier, man. I really think the Jimmies and the Joes are important, right? Obviously. Yes. And I feel better about the Jimmies and Joes that Florida State has this year. You went in the portal and you got more proven guys like we saw in 2022 and 2023 and those types of things. We saw those types of guys that you brought in. And that's exactly what we said we wanted. We didn't want backups with a big logo by their name. We wanted guys like a Deontay McCray, who was one of the best guys in the conference that he was in. Diamante Diggs, same thing. You got a bunch of productive guys. And so that is the big thing. But man, I really think when you do talk X's and O's, and this is no dish to the the old staff. They won some games too, but when you look at when they really started winning, they just had a load of NFL talent on that roster, right? You saw the Jared Verse and the Braden Fisk when they left. You saw what Keon Coleman's done. You know what Jordan Travis was able to do as a quarterback. But again, you're talking about a guy here in Gus Malzahn. Now, whether that success is in the rear view or not, he has went out and played for national championship. He has won a national championship as a coordinator. You look at your former offensive coordinator. He was an O-line coach at Charlotte before he got here. That is not even in the same ballpark. Nope. Tony White, been at Nebraska, produced top 20 defenses. Yep. Did amazing things at Syracuse with little to no talent. versus Adam Fuller, who was at Wagner and Marshall and Memphis. This is just a different. And the reason I say that is because, one, I think these coaches aren't going to take any what from these players, right? We've already
Right.
seen them like, hey, if you ain't about it, you can get to stepping. You're not going to play.
That's right.
How many times did we see last year where the loafing and the lack of the effort was allowed to go on game after game after game? Like, if we could see it as fans, I know the coaches could see it, and they just let these guys keep rolling.
Yep. Yep.
And so I think you're going to have a different mentality. I also think when you talk about just being in a big game like this, how many big games were those former coaches in before they got to Florida State? How many
Yeah.
big games have these coaches been in? They
Yep.
went against Ohio State. They have went against Alabama before. Gus Malzahn's went toe-to-toe with Alabama and beat them. So, man, I think the X's and the O's are a massive upgrade that might be being undersold about this team in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just be absolutely real. Mike Norvell is one of the best play callers I've ever seen in college football. And I'm not saying he's the best. I'm saying he's one of the best. When he's got the right kind of skill set on and players for his offense, I mean, he can call with the best of them. But I think Gus Malzahn, with the experience and the history of his offense and what he runs, the fact that every year he can produce a 1,000-yard rusher, he's always in the top 10 to top 20 in rushing yard offenses. When he has the right kind of quarterback, his quarterbacks can be dynamic. Then you talk about Tony White, who's producing top 20 defenses. He did it at Nebraska. He did it, closely at Syracuse. I mean, remember, this is the guy who basically had Ohio State, the last year's national champion, in a chokehold for most of that game before they were able to pull it out, right? And no other team had been able to do what his defense did. Now, let's ignore the fact that they later on went and got blown out by another team there, scored a whole bunch of points on them.
Indiana, I think, was
Indiana.
56 points or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's forget that part. But what he did against the scheme that he got up. So these X's and O's, I'm really excited to see. I don't know about you, Jesse, but I believe you have, but I've been doing so much study of the 3-3-5, trying to understand the different stack, the different blitz, the exotic looks, how the jack works, how the rover works. Like, because when I'm at the game on Saturday, I'm a weird fan. I want to see the play. I want to see how he's calling the game. What is he trying to get them to do? He has always said, this is Tony White. He talks about how the defense shouldn't be reactive. It should be proactive and aggressive. Yep. So he's actually scheming to attack the offense. And I can't wait to see that. And with Gus, man, I'm ready for the 60-40. We're going to run 60% of the time. We're going to pass it 40% of the time.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk about the defense, there's no more bend, don't break, right? This is an offensive defense, which I really, really like. And, the only bummer I would say about being in Doak on Saturday for me is, like, I like to, when I watch it at home, I can really kind of get a better feel for the game. Yeah. But this is an atmosphere I just really couldn't miss, man, because I know Doak is going to be absolutely nuts. And, we're sitting next to each other this year.
Yep. Yes,
and so I got to warn you, Michael, I am an intense fan. So just bring an earplug for your ear that on the side that I'm on, because I'm a yeller. So just get used to that. But, man, I can't wait for Saturday. Yeah, and so we're going to talk about that. Now, before we jump into a little bit of offense and defense talk here, my guy Henry comes through and says, hey, family, go ahead and become a member of PTS. These guys are doing great things. We really appreciate that. There, Henry. We have the membership available. Everything we do here is free, of course. We want it to be free for you guys. This is by the fans, for the fans. We're just fans that do this as a passion project. We have a sponsor in Alumni Hall. We'll talk about them in a second. But if you are interested in, a like and subscribe helps us reach other Nole fans. We really appreciate that. But if you'd like to help support what we're doing here, to be able to do more giveaways, to be able to up our game every little bit, to try and keep up with some of the bigger outlets there, you can join as a member. It's one small fee a month. It's not a whole lot there. And we do some things. We have some giveaways, live streams, and all that types of stuff, tailgates that are open invite for all of our members and stuff. So we do appreciate that. If you guys are interested in joining that, every time that you donate something, we put it right back into the show. I have so many times, Michael, heard that it is so difficult to do on an iPhone. So I'm going to tell you guys right now, if you're interested in that, go to a browser, your Safari browser or something like that. Open up a web page tab, and you can, a desktop tab or whatever they call it, and the option to join will be there. I just helped a friend of mine join the other day, so we appreciate him. My friend Jesse, who I grew up with, we do appreciate him joining as well. And The last thing here, Henry does say, Jesse, I need that hat. It came from Alumni Hall. Now, I've had this for a few years, so I don't know if they still have these hats. But with that being said, guys, Alumni Hall is the title sponsor for Plant the Spear, 1415 Timber Lane Road in Tallahassee. If you're headed to the game, if you're not, you can order online at alumnihall.com, have them ship the gear straight to your house. You can also order online and pick up in store if you're running late for the game. Make sure when you stop by to save 10% with code SPEAR.
Now, if you're in Tallahassee and you stop by Alumni Hall, you might find myself or Jesse there. So make sure you come say hi to us because we're going to be shopping there to get some gear for the upcoming season.
Yeah, Saturday morning, probably 10-ish or so. I will definitely be at Alumni Hall picking up some new gear for the season. So, man, I'm really excited about that anyway, because as we said, Michael, all your lucky stuff from last year, put it in a box, put it as far in the back of that closet as it'll go. I'm weird, man. I get mail from Florida State, and I have to make my wife throw it away because I'm such a juju person.
Keeper.
So I can't. But put that in a box and bury it in the back and go get you some new stuff from Alumni Hall and save 10% with code SPEAR. So, Michael, let's talk a little bit here about some offense, some defense. We're going to talk about some week 1 games. I don't want to run you guys 2 hours long here on this preview, but of course we enjoy talking with you guys. So what's up, Brandon? We appreciate you joining. Caleb, you as well. Let's go. Really excited to have everybody here on the stream talking with you guys, because this is what it's all about, Michael, connecting with the people, connecting with the fans. We're fans. We want to connect with you guys. Look, I'm already excited for Saturday because we've already got 2 tailgate invites that we're going to be swinging by, seeing my guy Ronnie and Spartan Noel, one of our viewers on here. So, Michael, let's talk some offense here. Let's talk about this Alabama offense real quick here. We do have a full in-depth preview you can check out on the channel there, but we're just going to touch on some things here, man. When you talk about this offense, really, let's talk more about what Florida State has to do to this offense to win the game, right? We know, here's the things we think we know, right? Because in preseason, you always have to say it's what you think you know, but no one really knows until we see it on the field. We know Alabama has an inexperienced quarterback. He is talented, former 5-star, top 3 quarterback in the 2022 class, but he's only played 188 total snaps, and 123 of those are run snaps. He has not thrown the ball a whole lot. 68% of his snaps were against non-Power 4 teams, 21% against FCS teams, not started a game, not played meaningful minutes. He's never felt game pressure, and that is really big. He's already talked about having some butterflies in his stomach before the game, and I'm sure anybody would, right? But that is really one where you got to watch in this game. Is just, man, the early mistakes could be something that Florida State could capitalize on. You know, even in the games where he played, how invested were the other teams? How invested was the crowd when you come into a blowout? You know, he came into Wisconsin last year at 42-10. He came in LSU at 35-6 and handed it off. Doak's going to be rocking from the second he walks in there, out there to take the first snap. So it's going to be big, man. I mean, again, when you talk about this guy last year, 64% of his throws were less than 10 yards. He was 1 of 4 on throws over 20 yards. And last year, he did not throw a single pass over 10 yards versus a Power 4 opponent. So I say all that, Michael, to say he just really has never been in this situation. But he's not a young guy. He's going to be a 4th-year junior. He's been in the program. But, you know, other than just having some college experience, at the same time, you know, I was thinking about this earlier, something that really kind of never crossed my mind is he started under Saban. So then you bring in DeBoer. That's a new offense. So he had to learn a new offense. Now you bring in Grubb. That's a similar but also new offense. So technically he's really kind of learning his 3rd offense in 3 years. And so that kind of adds to, he's not a freshman, but he's kind of a freshman in the system. And so I think that's interesting too. So, man, he's a mobile guy. He's not Jalen Milroe. He's hard to bring down. He's got size. He can escape pressure. He can move the pocket, and he will be part of the run game on some design runs. But, you know, when I watched the film really against a couple of the different games that he played in where he actually got to throw the ball, his downfield passing wasn't the most consistently accurate, right? But I will say one thing. I think the key to getting to him right early in the game and winning this game and taking advantage of that quarterback is when I watched, I think it was Mercer or South Florida. Man, when he came into the game, he kind of had that deer in the headlights look, right? Things were moving fast. They were inaccurate. But as the game progressed, as he got like a quarter of play, you could tell he started to settle in a little bit. And so I think the key to me for Florida State is you can't let that happen. You cannot let him settle in and get in rhythm with these receivers. And I guarantee you Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer are going to try and cook something up to make him get comfortable. But, man, to me, if I'm Tony White, I'm turning up the heat the first drive, the first snap. I'm probably bringing 6 or 7 guys because I want to hit Ty early and often. I want him back there seeing ghost. I want him thinking, I got to get out of this pocket. I got to go. I got to make things happen because the guy that I interviewed with Alabama said, like, the difference between him and Jalen Milroe is Milroe was a one read and go. And this is the guy who can get to that second read, maybe even that third read. And when you have 3 dynamic receivers like they do there in Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, and Isaiah Horton, you don't want him progressing through those reads. You don't want those guys to have time to get separation. So to me, on the offense, man, I think with the down running back, the missing offensive lineman there, I think you can do a decent job of bottling up the run game. They're going to get theirs, but I think you can do a decent job of keeping that contained. But, man, I think the key is to try and rattle Ty Simpson as early and as often as you can and see if you can get him to make some mistakes. Now, if he comes out, like we joked, if he comes out and plays like Jameis versus Pitt in 2013, it is what it is, man. You gave it effort. You tried hard. Things just didn't work out. But I think this is the number one path to you winning, and that's rattling an inexperienced quarterback on the road early and often.
Yeah, I think, Tony, again, this goes back to my comment earlier about the scheme. I think that's going to be one of the bigger determiners of the game. Can Tony White scheme up exotic looks? And they don't always have to be blitzes. Like, they don't always have to be a blitz, but can Tony White scheme up looks that makes him hesitate for just a second, which gives that defensive line, gives that linebacker, whatever who's coming through, just that much more time to be able to get to him. And again, even just hitting him, like you said, even just hitting him can rattle him in that environment. Even what they do on the backside with the defensive backs, whether they bracket, Ryan Williams. And so he's got 2 guys on him. And now you got Jeremy Bernard and Isaiah Horton that are getting 1-to-1 coverage. And then what you're doing is you're maybe playing man under, and you're playing zone or man top and zone under. Like, you're giving them just really confusing looks that makes him hesitate, that makes him see, like you said, see triples and quadruples and sextuplets. Like, he's like, holy cow, I did not anticipate this type of defense. And I don't know what my hot is. I don't know what the route that I'm getting out of this, or maybe the timing gets off because we're jamming receivers at the top. Like, all that schematicness is thing is going to matter to help give Florida State the puncher's chance that it has for this. But I would agree with you that getting Ty off, getting him murky and confused, and getting him rattled will pay dividends. What and how that plays out will be key to Florida State's success in the game.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, like, you do have the most productive pass rusher in the country from last year based on a workload standpoint in James Williams. At the end of this game, if it's muddy or not, if Ty Simpson's white uniform is not muddy and dirty, and he's just like one sticker hanging off his helmet or whatever, that's what you need to see. You need to get in there because you got some guys on this defensive line that can do some things. I mean, you talk about Daryl Jackson, 6'6", 340, going against a center who's, I believe, 6'2", 290. So that's,
right.
If you can, now he's a really good center, but if you can kind of put him in his lap and rattle him early, then hopefully it leads to some mistakes. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen, right. But again, you got to get back there. You got to create pressure. And when you get back there, you have to get him on the ground, because there's a couple times, I think it was the Mercer game. And now this is Mercer. This isn't Florida State, but where they had him dead to rights and he just shook the guy off and kept on going. So you got to make sure you get him down. You got to make sure you capitalize on the opportunities that you have. But man, I mean, you just really, my guy's been drinking some heck of Kool-Aid.
All in the Kool-Aid.
Noles by 30 in this one.
30. Listen. I'll take it.
If we do that, I promise you, I'm going to have a hotel room and a ticket booked to Miami by the fourth quarter if we beat them by 30. But no, man, I think when you talk about Tony White's defense too, this is a defense. You bring up an interesting point, right? How multiple can they get this early in the season? This is another reason why I really wish that East Texas A&M game or Kent State was before this one, so you had a chance to work that out. But this is a defense that confuses even veteran quarterbacks, let alone a young guy or new guy who's pretty inexperienced. So I think that really confusing him and turning up the pressure is the one way that you're going to. I think this is going to be kind of similar to what Alabama's playing for Thomas Castellanos is. Let's put the game on his arm and let's let him go out there and prove that he can throw the ball. Because if Ty Simpson does throw the ball and you take away the run and they win, well, man, there's only so much you can do, right? But if you can go out there and you can slow the run down and you can rattle him, I think you have a good opportunity there. And so then when you talk about the defense, I think it's going to really be kind of the same thing, the same game plan almost, right? You're going to have Alabama. They know Florida State wants to run the ball. They know Gus Malzahn is a 60-40 run guy. They know what Thomas Castellanos is. They know his most dangerous aspect is his legs. And so I think you're going to see them probably load the box early on. And they're going to say, okay, well, if you're going to try and run it on us, let's see how effectively you can throw the ball, because Alabama's strength on defense is their secondary. They were top 10 in scoring defense last year, top 10 in pass efficiency, top 10 in interceptions, and they bring back 4 of their 5 starters. So they're probably going to feel, with Tommy's passing, semi-confident that they can probably hold your receivers in check with just the DB. So I would expect pressure early and often from Alabama as well to force Tommy to show them that he can throw enough to back them off. Now, if he can do that, if he can keep the chains moving, if he can make the smart decisions and keep those chains moving and make a couple of plays to back that defense off, then Florida State can be off to the races. You can, if you can establish that ground game and put yourself in good positions. This is a defense that did give up over 200 yards rushing 3 times last year. They were 64th in run defense. And, only, I think 61st or 64th in sacks, only 25, and they lost 11 of those. They did not get Pavia for Vanderbilt one time in that game. So, man, I mean, obviously, as important as it is to establish the run in this game, which you're probably helped out there by Tim Keenan being out a little bit to help you be able to get this run game going, man, I think it's equally important that Tommy is able to do just enough with his arm to back that defense off to create those running lanes. Because if he can't throw it effectively and you can bottle up and load the box against a Gus Malzahn offense, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah, listen, the name of this game is Alabama. What they're going to do is they are going to bring those corners up. They're going to bring maybe 6, 7, maybe even 8, somewhere in the vicinity of that box, because they know. I mean, everybody in the world knows what Gus Malzahn wants to do. He wants to run that ball 60% of the time, and he wants to throw it 40% of the time. And a lot of those throws are going to be east-west throws, right? Little digs, little out routes, little flats, little bubble screens, stuff like that, right? And then they're going to run some other stuff. I took a bunch of notes that they like to do. They like to run the RPO, this glance RPO, where they're putting it in the pocket of the wide receiver one way, but they got a little short post route coming the other way, and they're reading that safety / linebacker to see if he comes up. Then you hit the post. If not, you give it to the back, or you keep it yourself and go. Like, we know if I know what Gus wants to run, you better believe Alabama knows. And so it's really going to be predicated on Tommy Castellanos to make sure that he keeps that defense honest, right? That he is able to complete the throws that needs to be completed. That when we take the shot, that it's the best looking shot to take, right? We don't just throw it up there and hope for the best. No, we throw it because we know that Deuce can not only just go get it, but he's got a leg. He's got to step up. He's got to step on that defender, right? We take the easy throw that Bama's going to give us some throws. That 4-2-5 swarm defense, it's going to give us seams and open spaces to make throws in, right? And then Tommy has to keep them honest by using his legs. This is the number one reason why he was brought here, because he is, without a doubt, one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the country. He may not be the most accurate, most consistent in passing, but his legs are dynamic. He's going to have to use them. Now, our hope is he's not getting hit a lot. He's running out of bounds. He's sliding, but that he's going to have to use those legs. And if he can do that, then you have a chance to keep Alabama honest, where now, because how fast Gus wants to go, well, now they're in their vanilla defense because they can't call anything exotic because they're just trying to get lined up. And, this is the first game of the season, so they're going to have all confusion and all those things because Gus is, going to be trying to go fast. The opposite of this is, and the danger of this is, if Tommy's not on, if he's not able to use his arm to keep the defense honest, and we're having to go 3 and out with how fast we go, that can be a detriment to our defense and the depth concerns we already have about that defense.
Yeah, and you also can't get behind the chains, right? Because this is
Absolutely.
not a drop back passing
Nope.
offense, and so you would be in trouble there. And I think you make a good point, right? Tommy has to use what makes him special. It's
Right.
his legs. I mean, he's got to throw the ball too, right? And he talked
Right.
about in this most recent press conference that I watched, where really the one thing he feels that he's improved the most on this year is just knowing when to check down, knowing when
Yep.
to get out of bounds, knowing when to slide, not take the hit, and all that stuff, and just being smarter with the ball because honestly, my biggest concern in this game is last year when Tommy played at BC, he only played in 7.5 games and had three of them with three or more turnovers, and they were 0-3 in those games. It simply cannot happen in this game. You
Right.
have to play a cleaner game than Alabama to try and win. And so, really, man. But I think when you talk about Tommy again, hey, dude, you got East Texas A&M. We can beat them with Kevin Sperry. You got a bye week, and you got Kent State. We can probably beat them with Kevin Sperry too. Brother, I need you to lay it all on the line in this game.
That's
I
right.
need you to leave it all out on the field because you talked it. Now it's time to walk it. And Bama's going to be headhunting a little bit. But the interesting thing here, Michael, is we talk a lot about Tommy, but new to this talks about didn't Squirrel wear Bama out. And that's the thing, man, that I think a lot of people overlook is like Florida State's got some weapons on offense too. We talk about defense and we like some of the pieces there. I think I like the defensive coordinator, the scheme, and all that maybe a little bit better than what we have on offense. But I think from a personnel standpoint, I like the offense better than the defense because I feel better about it. Right? You have Deuce, who's here 6'6". He's produced 400 yards the last two seasons as kind of the number 3 or 4 wide receiver there at USC. So he's got proven production. He's big. He's a mismatch. Then you got Squirrel White, as new to this talked about. He put up over 100 yards on Alabama a couple years ago when he was playing against them, and so that's experience that he's going to tie back on. Again, you talk about a guy who has went toe to toe with Alabama. You got a guy who's beat Alabama here
Right.
with Gunnar Hansen, your tackle. You got some guys who they're not scared of Alabama. They've went up against them before. It's not the first time that they've ever seen them. They beat them last year with the Tennessee guys, with Jason Jenkins and Squirrel White. They beat them before. And so, just man, looking at this, they got some personnel that I really like. Randy Pittman is a really kind of versatile guy, a Jaheim Bell type of guy. He's been really productive in the Gus Malzahn offense. There's a couple of wrinkles that I can't wait to see. I mean, you
Yep.
obviously we talk about the depth chart. You got Chase Lofton that's been lining up in the slot. Now I know he's a true freshman, but Michael, imagine you got Deuce Robinson on the field, 6'6" out wide. You
Yep.
got Squirrel White the burner out there. Then you got a 6'6" dude in the slot. Good luck climbing that ladder with with a couple of guys. And so, again, I really like some of the pieces here. Obviously, people almost forget about Jalen Lucas. That's a
Yep.
really dynamic guy. Now he's the opposite of 6'6". I think he's
Right.
like 4'6", but he might can get lost in the crowd there. And then also you talk about the backs here. You don't think Roydell Williams is going to be motivated for this game? Gavin
Yeah.
Sawchuk is a guy we've seen produce at Oklahoma.
That's right.
Azumain Chroma, it looks like he's probably not going to be getting much of the starting reps because he's behind Jalen Lucas at the running back 2 spot. But
Yep.
I guarantee you he's going to get some carries. And if they see enough that they feel like they can trust the freshman, that's a different dude.
Yep.
And so,
Yep.
Florida State, for as good as the defense of Alabama is, Florida State's got weapons too, and they have
Yep.
multiple ways they can attack you. So what Tommy talked about in the past was how teams would just key on him because he was the best athlete they had to watch out for. Really, Tommy's almost a weak point in this offense. So you have so many other things, not saying he is the weak point, but saying like the one you're probably the most nervous about.
Right.
He's got some weapons around him. And so as long as he can just kind of efficiently use those weapons and stuff, man, I think this offense could surprise some people. Now it's Gus Malzahn. I don't think you're going to go put up 50 points on Alabama. But, man, I think there is some underestimation of the tools in the shed that Florida State has too.
Yeah, for sure. I think, Florida State has tools to be able to, again, they have a puncher's chance type of tools. They don't have the heavyweight fight tools, but they have a puncher's chance, at least on paper, as what we see on paper. Now, they could get out there and, my goodness, we be what? Like Brandon Little said, 30-point beatdown, which then I would say, okay, well, we got heavyweight tools. We need to go undefeated. But they have a puncher's chance tool. And if they can go out there and they can execute that, and they can, the coaches can help by scheming up really good plays, whether it be offense or defense, then, they have a chance to pull the upset for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you still have a 53% blue chip ratio. I think it
Right.
was what I said the other day, 36 to 67 or something like
Yeah.
that. So, I mean, they have you outgunned a little bit, but you still have some pieces too. Really, when we talk about the offense versus the defense, man, my biggest question is can you get to 30 points, right?
Yeah.
Because I think when you talk about an Alabama team with all the offensive questions that they have there, I it's certainly possible they come out and put up 40, right? They put up 40 on LSU last year, who was a good team too. Uh, but they only gave up 30 twice last year. And
Right.
so the question for me is I think with all the changes on the offense, I don't know that they put up 40 points in this game. I think if you can hold them under 30, 30 feels like if you can get to 30, 31 points, I think you've got a pretty good chance of winning this game, or at least you will guarantee yourself to probably be in it in the fourth quarter. But like I said, Alabama only gave up 30 points twice last year and only 20 points 5 times in 13 games. So my thing is, can you get to 30? Because I think you're going to need high 20s, low 30s to win this game. And so that's the challenge that you have. Now, Gus Malzahn does average around 30 points per game career wise. So we'll see how that goes. But man, I think that's it, that's kind of the number. It almost feels like this game is a race to 30, right? And whoever gets there and holds on can win this game. But as we kind of wrap up the Florida State Alabama talk, because we got a couple other things I want to get here too with the week one matchups, man, let's just kind of talk about some final thoughts here on this game, man. And really, when you talk about getting to that 30 points, man, I think you have to look back to the Vanderbilt game last year, right? They had 42 minutes in time of possession compared to 18 for Alabama. Well, you're already a run heavy team, so you should dominate time of possession. I think you want to keep those wide receivers, you want to keep that Alabama offense off the field as much as possible. I think you also want to play a clean game. When you talk about that Vandy game, Diego Pavia, he had 252 passing yards, 55 rush yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's not. He didn't throw for 400 and run for 100. That's not unrealistic for Tommy. Maybe have more rush than pass there. He didn't get greedy. 80% of his passes were under 20 yards, and he had an 80% completion rate because he didn't get greedy. He took what they gave him. He didn't get sacked one time. He didn't have any turnovers. Vandy won the turnover battle. They won the penalty battle, and they won the time of possession battle. I think those are really the key things here. I would love to see them start fast because if you get down by 20 points, we talked about this before. One, where's your head at? How are you going to respond to adversity? And Gus Malzahn's offense is not really built to come from behind like that. So I think you need to start fast. Maybe you don't have a Vandy type of start where you score and then you get, I think it was a pick six or something like that within the first 10 minutes of the game, and they never trailed. I don't know that that's going to be the case, but I don't think you can dig yourself a hole. But man, if you can play a cleaner game, especially knowing the pieces that Bama's missing, and you really kind of take advantage of that, and you play a cleaner game, you start fast and you stay in the fight. As you always say, man, if you can find yourself in a game in the fourth quarter, you got a chance to win. And that's
Got a
really
chance.
what Florida State has to do is you just got to keep chopping the entire game and hope you can get it to the fourth quarter with a chance to win.
Yeah, and the thing about time of possession is it's kind of a misnomer for Gus Malzahn offense. The Gus Malzahn has been one of the lowest offenses. The no huddle hurry up is one of the lowest time of possession average in the country. In 2018, when he was the head coach at Auburn, they ranked 124th out of 129 FBS teams. So it's not really necessarily about the time of possession for Florida State's offense. It's the total number of plays. That Gus Malzahn's desire is to have more total plays than your team has, right? Than your offense has, because if he can get more total plays than your offense, he's wearing down your defense. Your defense, after some time, they're going to be tired. It's the first game, cramps, all like that stuff. And here comes that offense again, just running down your throat, more total plays, right? So that's really going to be the issue. That's probably one of the areas we should pay attention to. Not so much time of possession, because Gus is going to try to go as fast as he possibly can. It's total plays. If we're seeing that Alabama's is holding to the is winning the total play approach on offense, we're probably losing, right? Unless we're just hitting some really big explosive plays, we're probably losing. And the thing about this is, like you said, this is not the type of offense that can get down 17, 21 points and
Mm-mm.
make a comeback. Historically, you can go back and look at the data. It's not the type of offense that can historically come back because of the 60-40 run split. And so it has to start from ahead, or at least to keep it close. And again, if you can get into the fourth quarter, man, listen, you and I, Jesse, we've been football fans for a long time, especially Florida State fans. We know the fourth quarter can do some funky things, right?
Yep.
The pressure builds. You got 15 minutes to go. You're on the road, man. You got a ruckus crowd screaming every type of which way at you. You can't hear the calls, right? They're all jacked up. The defense is coming at you and flying. The offense is moving the ball and going too fast. Like, absolutely. Like, the fourth quarter gives you the magic, but you've got to get the game in the fourth quarter. If I'm Florida State, if I'm Mike Norvell, I'm not saying this to the players, but what I'm thinking and I'm talking about with my coaching staff is, can we get this to the fourth quarter? If we get this to the fourth quarter, we give ourselves the best chance to win the game. But if this game is either over by the third quarter or it's slipping away, the old saying, it's getting late early, then you're basically setting yourself up for failure here.
Yeah, and I totally agree, right? You just have to stay in the game, keep the crowd in the game because you don't want to lose that aspect too. But man, I mean, really, you hit the nail on the head, and I think some of the other things that are really important to me, obviously, is first off, take care of the ball, right? That is the number one thing for me.
Yep.
Bama lost the turnover battle in 3 of their 4 losses last year. Win the penalty battle. They were 113th in penalties per game last year. Now that may improve year 1 to year 2 with DeBoer. That's a kind of a coaching thing there. They'll probably get that cleaned up, but that's an area that you can win. But we heard a lot about penalties there early in the game. I think TC needs to have a clean game. And the beauty of this offense, if you talk about Thomas Castellanos, maybe isn't, I don't want to call him the weak point, right? But he's the part you're most nervous about working out. This is an offense that's not going to ask a ton from the quarterback. And I think that is key too. Thomas Castellanos is probably the closest thing to Nick Marshall that Gus has had since Nick Marshall. And you look at the 2013 season, they really did not ask a lot from him. I think he only threw for 2,800, something like that, 2,600, 2,400 yards, but he ran for like 11 or 1,200. We basically seen Tommy Castellanos put up those types of numbers. So as long as he can do what this offense requires him to do, he doesn't have to go out and throw for 400. Like remember when Jordan was down both receivers in the Pitt game, and I think he threw for his highest like 400 yards or something, threw for the total or something like that. Like, you don't have to do that. It's not built to be on his arm. So I like that as well, man. But man, when we get to the end here and we talk about maybe a win-loss prediction here, like I get it, right? The 247 talent composite just dropped. Alabama is number 1 in the country. Florida State is at 19th. They have the talent advantage. I understand all that stuff. They have more continuity. You have a returning defensive coordinator, returning head coach. You have an offensive coordinator who basically is the right-hand man of the offensive minded head coach. So there's not going to be a whole lot of change there. Probably in how they run the offense, but the terminology is probably about the same. And so there's more continuity. There's more talent. They're coming from a better place. I understand all that. But, again, man, this is just a different team. It's going to be a little bit hard to prepare for because you don't really know what it's going to look like with the current pieces that it has. Both of the coordinators have never really had a good coordinator opposite of them. So that could be a big difference there. So, man, I still come back to my head tells me, knowing that, I will say this, Michael, and this sounds really crazy to say, right? I think there is a portion, and I love being confident, right? Say it with your chest out, but I think there's a small portion of the fan base that's overlooking Alabama, as crazy as that is to say, right? They're still Alabama, right? Whether Nick Saban's there or not, they still beat Georgia last year. They still blew out a ranked Missouri and LSU team with a semi-average quarterback, right? And so I think really, man, my head still tells me that Bama probably wins about 31-20, but I think you keep it close and you fight in this game. But as I already said, Michael, my heart that pumps that garnet and gold blood that runs through my veins has Florida State with some kind of crazy upset, like maybe a 24-21 type of real close one. And I will at least say this with the injury news that's come out, especially that nose tackle. I think I don't change my prediction, right? But I lean more towards my heart than my head than I was before because I just really think that's going to make a difference. And the other two things I think that are going to make a difference too, obviously, if you have a rain game, there's a lot of factors going into this, but is Alabama special teams, right? We heard where the guy that I interviewed and even Alabama staff said that, look, man, the kicker was missing routine kicks in camp, and the punter is from D2. So, like, we already know John Papuchis is a special teams wizard when it comes to drawing up block kicks. And so could this be a situation where, Alabama's going to kick, the Clemson last year, you blocked what, 3 field goals or something like that? Could this be that type of situation? So, man, I think at the end of the day, I still think my head says Alabama wins, but I still think my heart says Florida State wins. And I think I lean a little bit more towards my heart with the injury updates.
Yeah, I don't. My heart says a close loss. That's what my heart says. My head and the logic and the football guy in me says this is probably a 34-10, 34-17 loss, somewhere in that nature. Just because I just think you can't ignore the fact that Bama, with going through the season that it went through last year, went 9-3, and they return a lot of those players, right? Florida State, again, as you like to say, this is a new season. This is not the same team. I mean, they have 50 odd something new players on this team. What, 18 of the 22 starting depth is brand new to the team? Like, so
20 of the 22, yeah.
Yeah, 20 of the 22. So it's not the same team. So we don't know. So there's no 2-10 carryover from the standpoint of we have the same players on the field. But there is a 2-10 carryover in the mentality and the understanding and the maybe even the recruitment of some of those players. And so I want to believe. I love what K-Dog 350 said. The game is probably going to be like 2021 against Notre Dame. Man, if it's like that where it comes down to a field goal, you know what? Then hats off, man. Florida State played their butts off. We lost the game on a field goal. That's a luck of the draw, and we have a little bit of hope going into the season. But man, my head tells me that that as much as I want to believe that Florida State can do this, I just think that you have to respect who Bama is. I'd love to be proven wrong. Hear me, Noles Nation. I want to be proven wrong. I want them to win, but I just don't see the win. I got them at 34-10.
Ooh, you changed it a little bit there. It was 34-17 on the other show. It's getting a little bit ugly here.
Yeah, right, the more research I do, I'm just saying.
It's funny because the more research I do, the better I feel. So we're going in the opposite directions. Yeah. But that's fair, man. Again, like I've said it before. I think Florida State wins a close one, or I think it could get away from them, right? I mean, it's certainly a possibility. We just don't know, right? We
just don't know.
And I want to clean this up for Sarah Russell real quick, who asked, do you have the injury list or projected injury list? As of right now, Florida State will be without LaWayne McCoy and Kevin Wynn, freshman defensive tackle. Bama will be without Jam Miller, starting running back. They will be probably without Jaden Roberts, starting right guard. He has not been fully ruled out yet. And then starting nose tackle Tim Keenan, pretty much from what we can tell, is not going to be available for this game. If he is, he's not going to be 100% there. So, yeah, man, no, I agree. I think you have to respect it either way. Yep. And, at the end of the day, man, there is no moral victories in Tallahassee, right? Nope. There's just not. We're not going to walk out of that stadium and be like, okay, well, we played close, right? We're going to be mad that we lost. But I think at the end of the day, when you talk about that Alabama team, they're a projected playoff team. They have they have national championship aspirations and things like that. So I think really when you look down the schedule, if you were to lose to Alabama, say 27-24, a one-score game, essentially, maybe even 10 points at the most. When I look at that schedule, I go, there's probably only one other Alabama on here, and that's Clemson. And because it's probably harder because it's playing in Death Valley. But if you hang with Bama toe for toe, in the first game of the season here, I can look at that schedule and say, you should win 8 to 9 games this year, even with this as a loss. If you're within one score or 10 points of Alabama, you should beat UVA. You should beat Wake Forest. You should beat Pitt. Yes. And so, I think
and you should walk into that Miami game confident that you're going to have a chance in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's really I don't want to act like there's a moral victory here, but again,
Right.
I think if you keep it within 10 points of Alabama, you can find 8 or 9 wins on the schedule, which is what you kind of were hoping for coming
That's
into the
right.
season anyway.
That's right.
But again, man, if you get the upset, that is a massive shot across the bow for college football in game one. And as K Dog says here, no way first start quarterback goes that crazy. I could be totally wrong though. I tend to agree with that. I think Florida State does score more than 10 points. Hey, maybe it even comes on a special team score because Mekhi Danzy does have track speed. So, Michael, we've talked a lot about Florida State, Alabama. Again, we have the preview, the full-on preview on the channel as well. Make sure you go check that out. But as we get to the tail end of the show, Michael, let's talk. There's a lot of other
There's
games,
a lot
right?
of other
And
games.
I hate that I'm going to probably miss some of these from during travel time or whatnot. I'll be have to listen to it on the radio. So I really just got the highlight ones, right? And let's kind of talk about some of those to round the show out here. So starting on Friday night at 8 p.m., Georgia Tech at Colorado. That one's just kind of interesting there, just because Colorado, everyone kind of always at the side of their eyes watching what Deion's doing. And, Georgia Tech's kind of an up and coming program out of the ACC there. Georgia Tech is a 4.5-point favorite going up to Colorado. Again, you lost Shadur, you lost Travis Hunter, you lost Jimmy Horn Jr., you lost all these guys.
Yeah.
And I think I saw where the Liberty transfer, Caden Salter, I think it was, he's going to get the start there for Colorado. Haynes King is back for Georgia Tech. Man, I think without those three guys that I mentioned a second ago, I think Georgia Tech wins and covers in this one.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. The Caden Salters kid, which is one of the kids that Florida State was kind of after, maybe linked to whatever. He's going to start there. Obviously, Deion, listen, the one thing we know about what we've learned so far with a Deion, offense is that they're going to spread it out wide. They're going to go sideline to sideline. They're going to run 4 wide, sometimes even 5 wide. They're not going to be necessarily great at running the ball, but they're going to be able to throw that ball around the field. And Georgia Tech, for what it is, I mean, they took Georgia to the wire. Obviously, they beat Florida State and Aer Lingus last year in Ireland by the same score, by the way, that Iowa State won this past game. It's saying some voodoo's happening at that stadium. But
right?
But I think I'm gonna go against you. I got Colorado covering the 4.5 and winning.
Hey, I hear you. Brent Key's doing something in Atlanta.
He is.
And so I just think they're a physical team, man. They will bring it to you, which, by the way, is one thing that I love about Florida State. And I listened to Gunnar Hansen, and he talked about that. He talked about that Vanderbilt Alabama game. He said, "Look, how we won that game is we came out. We were the more physical team. We pushed them around all day." On the line of scrimmage. And he was a little upfront about it, like, hey, we pushed them around all day. We had 42 minutes of possession or whatever. So Florida State is a team that is embracing physicality. And so I really, really like that because that's not something we saw out of them last year. A couple quick score predictions from our listeners here. We have Matt here says 31-24. I'd say Bama, but I'd love to say 31-24 Noles. I think that's a fair prediction there, Matt. And then William comes in with 31 for Florida State, 28 for Alabama final score. I don't care if it's a 1-point walk-off win like it was LSU in 22. I don't care, man. Just give me the juice there. Give me the win. Yep. New to this says replacing both kickers is potentially scary for us. Yes, it is new to this, but guess what? They are too. So we are equal opportunity nervous about that one. And then here we have a question or a comment that says TC has to use his tight ends a lot. Definitely think that has got to be a big part of
Randy Pittman.
The game, because I think your tight ends are probably one of your strongest position groups on offense. I mean, when you look at Landon Thomas and Amari Williams and all that, these guys are special. So you have to use them in this game. Now, Michael, let's talk about that. One more thing here. K-Dog says, give me a win and I will be absolutely insufferable. I promise you, that will be these two guys right here. If we win, I promise you, you do not want to miss the post-game show. You don't want to miss it.
You do not. Let me just tell you, if we win, you better tune in because we will be they will have to put our faces under the definition of unsufferable. We will let everybody and their grandma know that we won that game.
I can't remember if it was 22 or 23, but I know you weren't quite with me yet. But when we beat LSU, I think it was 23. I was like, y'all come to this postgame show, LSU, and take this whooping because y'all been talking it all week. And man, it was I had the shades on, I had the
Yeah,
spear
yeah,
out. I was
yeah.
like, I was
Oh,
pumped up and ready to go.
well, that
We're gonna
game
be
was
a problem if we
we gonna
win.
be a problem. Well, that game was in Orlando, and let me just tell you, they know who Michael was because I was screaming the entire way out of the stadium, just everything that Brian Kelly and his family and they heard me all the way in Orlando about that game. So
Yeah, they're
you
gonna
can
be.
trust
And the
us,
good
K
thing
Dog.
is, we don't have another game that matters for 3 weeks, so you will hear
Nope,
about it for 3 whole
for
weeks. I'm
three
gonna be like,
weeks.
"Welcome to the show. This is the Kent State preview show." By the way, did you know that we beat Alabama? So yeah, we're gonna say all of that. But moving on, Michael, probably the headlining game of the week, right? That is Texas, number one Texas at number three Ohio State at
Yeah,
noon. Michael, as much as I want to join the Big Ten, I really don't want our big games to be a freaking
at
noon. Like
noon.
that,
Oh
that would
gosh.
be awful. But Ohio State is a 1.5 point favorite, probably getting the home edge there. When you talk about this Texas team, you got Arch Manning and all the hype that goes with that. I think
Yeah.
they got a really good defense. Ohio State, you get them in the shoe. That's a hard place to win, but you're replacing
Yep.
two coordinators. You're replacing a quarterback. You got the young guy, Julian Say, in there. You lost both your running backs. For me, that's still a really good team. I think they were top 5 in talent ranking.
Yep.
Man, I'm just gonna go. I think I got Texas in this one.
Yeah. Oof. Well, I just saw on X, formerly known as Twitter, I saw one of the big sports book basically came out and said that all the money, the action right now, not like crazy insane something's up, but like a lot of money's been coming on Texas right now. A lot of money. Now, listen,
I can pull it
go
up while you're talking.
yeah, like going to the shoe is going to be a difficult thing. Ohio State, they don't often lose there unless they're playing against Michigan, apparently, and
Yeah.
planting flags and everything. I think this is going to be a really good game. I think Steve Sarkisian and with Arch Manning making his debut on the road as the full-time starter this time. I think it's going to be a big deal. Julian Salen, who transferred from Alabama to be at Ohio State, I think is going to be a big thing. Obviously, they got they're going to have a dynamic receiving core. They're going to have a dynamic defense. I'm going to take Ohio State to win this game.
Okay, the home team with
The
the
home
well, I
team.
guess it's not an upset if they're the favorite, but hey,
Nope.
maybe some of that home magic works our way as well.
That'd be nice.
I will say, now that you mention it, total bets, 67% of bets are on Ohio State, but 78% of the money is on Texas. And you know
It's
what they
on
say,
Texas.
Michael?
Yep.
Follow the
Follow the
money.
money. That's right.
So, a couple more quick comments here I want to take as we talk about these games as they roll in here. Henry says, I don't have a score, but we upset Bama. Hey, man, it's
I'll take it.
impossible to predict this team, right? But as
Yep.
long as you win, you win. And my guy, Jeff Hill, comes in off the top rope with a $20 super chat. Man, we can't say thank you enough for
Thank
that.
you.
Jeff's a great guy, man. He's been rocking with us for a while. He loves to hit with the super chat. So we appreciate that. Jeff says 35-28, Florida State over
Oof,
Alabama. I think
take
we're
it.
doing enough on defense to confuse the quarterback. We're playing at home. I think we're going to get enough running with the running backs and quarterbacks to win the game. Jeff, I'm with you, dude. I really think that's the key, right? Is confusing that quarterback with
Yeah.
this defense. You're at home. If you can get the run game going, including Tommy's legs, man, I think you're all over. And you know what, Michael? Hey, maybe if it's a close game in the fourth quarter, like maybe I'll put Jeff's $20 towards a bail fund and I'll just run out there and sack Ty Simpson myself. I'll just give him a drop kick to the chest or something like that so we can win in the end.
We're gonna need y'all fans to give a lot more money if Jesse's doing this.
I'll be the 12th man in this game. I'll do what I got to do. But no, man, all jokes aside, I really do think that, man, Jeff hits the nail on the head, right? I think that's the way that you win. Confusing the quarterback, using the run game, and using that home field advantage. Michael, the next game we got to talk about here, Syracuse, Tennessee. This one's just kind of interesting because it's Syracuse coming off a 10-win season. Fran Brown's doing some good things there. Tennessee is another team that, made the playoffs last year. It's in Atlanta in the Dome at noon. This is kind of like our game. Tennessee, 13.5-point favorite. There's a little bit of change there at Syracuse. Obviously, they don't have their quarterback anymore. Neither does Tennessee. Nico's out there in California getting paid a lot less money and paying a lot more taxes. So good luck with that, buddy.
What a great decision.
Man, I really think that Syracuse is going to put up a fight, right? Just because, man, I like Fran Brown as a coach. I really do. I think he's got something going there at Syracuse. It's just a hard place to win. So I don't know how long he's going to stay there. I think Tennessee wins this. I think Syracuse gives them a fight. My biggest thing, man, is I think Tennessee has a very good chance at covering this spread. But
Mm,
I will say, with the new quarterback situation that they have there, I wouldn't be surprised if Syracuse keeps it like a 10 to 14 point game. But I still
yeah.
got Tennessee winning.
Yeah, listen, I think Syracuse will put up a fight in that first half. Like Fran Brown is proven to be a pretty decent coach. Now,
Yeah.
what we need to see is what is Fran Brown without Kyle McCord, right?
Yep.
What is Fran Brown without Kyle McCord? And that will be important to this as well. Listen, I've been to Neyland Stadium. That stadium is a trash
It's in
dump.
Atlanta. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're right.
Neutral
You're right.
site.
It's
Neutral site.
it's
Yep.
neutral site. Neutral site. Yeah, I think I think again. Again, a lot of the Tennessee fans will be able to travel a lot more than probably the Syracuse fans will. They got some good, they got some good fans that'll travel, but you'll probably see that stadium kind of light up orange a lot inside there. I think Tennessee actually covers the 13.5 and wins going away.
Yeah, I'm with you there. But I'm cheering for Syracuse because they're the underdog like us. So let's
Yeah.
go. The next big one, man. This is the one that kind of stole our night slot. Don't really love it, but the battle of the Tigers, the battle of the Death Valleys, whatever
Yeah.
you want to call about the fighting Brian Kellys against the fighting Dabos.
Yeah.
There's I don't know that you could make more jokes about a game than
Oh
this
my
one,
gosh.
but man, I think it's really going to be a good game, and that is LSU at Clemson, 8
Yes.
p.m. at night in Death Valley. I don't know which one you consider the real Death Valley. Me, Michael, I think LSU's the real Death Valley. No offense,
Me
Clemson.
too. Me too.
So yeah, I'm going to go with that. Clemson is the 3.5 point favorite
Yep.
here. That's pretty much your home spread there for being the home team. But Michael, it's we talked about the history earlier, right? With Alabama and their season openers. It doesn't carry over to every season.
Nope.
But it's really kind of hard to ignore that LSU has now lost 5 season openers in a row. And I think 3 of them have been under Brian Kelly.
Yes.
So, Jeff is right. Brian Kelly's probably thinking, thank goodness it's not Mike Norvell.
He's so right.
Yeah, I'm sure about that. And you know what, man, it's crazy. I was watching a preview, like I said, just to get up to speed on these games that I hadn't studied up yet on. And JD PicKell, as most of you know, is a kind of a talking head there. And he has LSU going in there and getting the upset in game one. And for
Wow.
me, man, Nussmeier's a good quarterback, right?
Yep.
And I've heard they got some really fast receivers. LSU's a talented team, but man, I give the edge to Clemson on this one. I think you have, Cade Klubnik's a really good quarterback. You're kind of stacked in the trenches there, and Clemson's a really, really good team at home. And so for
Yep.
me, in this one, I have Clemson winning.
Yeah. Now listen, Jesse, how many home games has Clemson lost in the last 10 years?
It's not been a lot. I can tell you that.
It's been like what, 3 or 4 maybe?
It's like I think 7 in the last 10 or 7 or 8 maybe in the last 10 or 15 years.
Okay. Yeah. Like that, like and
Well, I can
Brian,
at least tell you this. Last year was the first time they have lost multiple home games
That's right.
in I think 10 since they went 6 and 7 in 2000 and
Yep.
whatever it was.
Yeah. I mean, it's some astronomical number. And Florida State, was fortunate to go up there and get one of those wins in 2023. I could believe that LSU might be better. I could believe that LSU might break the streak of losing 5, straight games and 3 of them being under Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly at Notre Dame, didn't really lose didn't lose openers, but he goes to LSU and he can't win to save his life.
Yeah.
Especially if the guy's name is Mike Norvell and he's at LSU,
Yep.
right? But I think this is going to be a close game. I really do. I think it's going to be a close game.
I do too.
I think it's going to be in the 4th quarter, and I just think being in Death Valley Junior is going to be the difference. And I think Clemson pulls this game out. I don't remember what the spread was. It was Clemson 3.5. I think it's actually I think Clemson covers. They win by a touchdown, and Brian Kelly is on the hot seat to begin the season.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think LSU wins. I think Clemson wins. I think they cover.
Yep.
It's going to start. The talk is going to start. But, again, man, this comes back to like we talked about with Mike Norvell, you lose the first game, the pressure's on down the season. And that's the same for Brian Kelly. You lose this game, the pressure is on.
Yep.
But man, we got to stop here for 1 second. My guy, Henry, man, he comes
Oh!
through with a big time super chat here, man. Go Noles. Appreciate that, Henry. My guy is already a tribe member for PTS.
Let's
So
go.
we already appreciate you. And then you come over the top with this. So man, we really appreciate that. Also dropped another one in here too, man. So my guy is just making it rain on you boys in here. We appreciate that. You know, again, like I said, we put everything back into the show. We're gonna do some things for you guys throughout the season. You know, we just really, man, we can't say thank you enough. We really appreciate that so much, guys, because we do it for y'all, right? This is why we do it. We don't have credentials, and any of that stuff. So man, we do it for the fans. We do it for you guys. I think I'm most excited about getting to hang out with our fans, right? At the games and things like that. So Michael, we got 2 more games to talk about here that we can't ignore on Sunday, because this is a pack. I mean, games start on Thursday. I think there's like 10 or something games on Thursday. So we got football all week after today. This is a sneaky good game, I think, and that is Virginia Tech versus South Carolina in Atlanta, neutral site, 3 p.m. Carolina is a 7.5-point favorite. I don't know that there's been a more hyped 9-4 team than South Carolina this offseason, and I think Virginia Tech, right, it really is, which is funny because, you know, we talk about the standards of programs. Like you look at Bama went 9-4 last year, and they were ready to fire the board just about. 2 eyes, 2 fingers to my eyes, 2 fingers to you. Shane Beamer goes 9-4 and gets a contract extension. So it's a different world out there, right? It's just a different world. But this is a sneaky good game. And man, I really think when you look at this, Virginia Tech is kind of where Florida State is. You're being told you don't have a chance. You're kind of, the spread's a little bit smaller, but there's not a lot of belief that you can win. So I say that, though, I still think that South Carolina is going to win this. Okay. I think Virginia Tech's going to put up a fight, man. And 7.5 is tough to call. I think maybe they keep it closer than that. I think maybe South Carolina wins but doesn't cover, but I do have Carolina winning this game.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting game. I don't think Virginia Tech's going to come to this neutral site game and just fall down flat for South Carolina. And I'm so confused. I'm just really confused. Where in the heck do we get off saying South Carolina, which has been a perennial basement dweller program? They win 9 games, and next thing you know, we're putting them in the college football playoff. We're putting them at number 13, Jesse. What in the world is going on here?
They have an ACC championship. But not an SEC championship, if that tells you anything.
Also, I mean, when they put this matchup together, did they say, let's find the 2 weirdest looking bird chicken thingies to fight at? You got a Hokie and you got a Gamecock, and they're, quacking each other, whatever. It's so weird. But you know what? Shout out to our friends at Son of Saturday podcast. I'm taking Virginia Tech.
I love it, man. Hey, let's go. I love our friends over there at Sons of Saturday. They're great guys. Man, this game just makes me want some wings. I think more than anything. Appreciate you, William, coming in with a super chat here. Great show, guys. Go Noles. William, we sure appreciate you as well, man. But Michael, we can't get out of here without talking about the last big one, and that is the Catholics versus the Convicts, Notre Dame versus Miami, down in Moral Gables in the rented stadium. This is the big one, man. This is the big one. And you know what's really big for this too is obviously you have Miami backs it up 2 weeks later against Florida. So we're going to learn a lot about Miami in the first couple of weeks. And they could, if they come into our game 4-0 or whatever with 2 wins over Florida and Notre Dame, that game looks imminently harder. But I don't think they're gonna. I think they might split the series, but I don't think they're going to win both. Notre Dame. They did lose some things last year after that national championship. Obviously, they're starting over. They're at quarterback. But Miami lost a lot too. I mean, I know they bring in more of a veteran quarterback, but man, when you talk about this, it is down there in Moral Gables, but Notre Dame is still the favorite, 2.5-point favorite, not by much. It's at 7:30 p.m. I think when you look at it, I think Notre Dame's got a better defense. I think Miami's probably got a better offense, but at the same time, that's hard to say because they're replacing so much at the skill positions. But you know what, Michael? At the end of the day, it is always FM, FFM. I will
Mm,
never pick Miami
mm,
to win a
mm.
game. I don't
Come
care
on.
if they're playing
Come
Bethune
on.
Cookman like they are like in week 2. So in this one, go Irish, stomp the Canes, give me Notre Dame.
Absolutely. You didn't even have to ask me. I don't care if Carson Beck is back there slinging the football, and Mario Cristobal and his chestiness is wearing out and making bad calls. I got Notre Dame going into the rented stadium and winning that game all day, every day.
Let's go. I hope so. I hope they put a beating on them, and I hope they both lose when they play
Yep,
Florida. And then I
exactly.
hope we. I mean, I can't pick a winner in that game. I hope they both lose.
Exactly.
That. Hey, look at Jeff coming through, reading my mind. I hate both of these teams, so they can both
Hey.
lose. How many overtimes it has to go before they just call it a tie? I don't want to see either team win. I don't know, man. Maybe the power goes out in the stadium. They just have to call it or something like that.
Exactly.
I sure hope so. But Michael, that's pretty much all the games. Jeff, again, we appreciate the super chat here as
Thank
well,
you,
man.
Jeff.
So, look, dude, Michael. We've talked about all the games, man, and all that's left to do now is get to Tallahassee.
Come on now.
And watch this Florida State Alabama game on Saturday at 3:30. Man, I'm excited. I'm just excited to put last season behind us. I'm excited to really just kind of get this new season going, to see what this new team looks like, to see what these new coaches look like. I'm excited to see what Doak looks like. I'm hoping that the days of needing a tetanus shot to be under the stadium are over. Hopefully the east side, like I joked, we're not peeing out in the bushes still. Hopefully they did some renovations for us over there on the east side too, man. So I from the pictures and everything I've seen, did you see the video they put out today with the little drone thing?
Yeah.
Gosh, that was absolutely amazing. So
I was
I think
excited.
Doak it's already one of the the cathedrals of college football, right? And
Absolutely.
now it looks even better. So man, I think I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to hang out with you on Saturday. Man, there's just so much that I'm looking forward to. So man, just give me some final thoughts before we wrap this up. What you're looking forward to, what it means to be back, man, and just some thoughts on Saturday as a whole as we get ready to start college football season again for Florida State.
Well, I mean, as a college football fan, we all know that the worst parts of the year is when football is not happening. You got all the other sports that you can hold on to, but man, let's just be real. This is the pageantry of American sports right here, man.
This is the one that matters.
This is the one that matters. This is the best. We love it. It's so much fun. And yes, I know that K-Dog talked about ESPN, SEC bias has destroyed the pageantry of college football. And you're right. There's a lot that just that four-letter network just gets on our nerves with. But man, as a famous coach used to say, we can't let that steal our joy. August 30th, man, we're going to be in renovated Doak Campbell Stadium. We're going to watch our beloved Noles take the field against the top 10 team in Alabama, right? Like this is the game we always wanted to be at and see.
Yep.
And man, I'm not going to let ESPN steal my joy. I'm not going to let anybody else steal my joy. Now, I'm going to let Florida State steal my joy if they lose this game for sure, right? What's that mean? I'm ready to be hurt again. I am. But man, it's going to be so much fun. I can't wait to hang out with you guys. Can't wait to hang out with Jesse. You're definitely going to be hearing both Jesse and I screaming throughout the stadium. We're probably going to be the loudest voices out there.
Yeah.
It's going to be to eat the food, to see the marching chiefs again, to be a part of the champions walk. Like I can't wait to take it all in. And then, even regardless of that game, I'm taking my son to another game. And I love that father-son opportunity, trying to instill into my son that the Noles are the only team you should ever root for. It's just going to be great. I just want to enjoy this season. Win or loss, I want to enjoy this season. Now, at the end of the year, we can get all upset and talk about all that stuff. But right now, let's walk into this game, but believing the Noles going to win, and we'll see what happens once the ball gets kicked off.
Yeah, man, 100% agree. Like I always joke, I'm like a bug to a bug zapper, right? I don't care if last year was 12-0 or 0-12. I'm always ready to see Florida State play. Let's just hope that we get surprised this year in a good way, not a bad way, because last year really did suck the fun out of everything. 8-4, 9-3 is not good enough. But an 8-4, 9-3 season, maybe you upset Miami along the way or Florida, something like that. You can have some fun within that season, but 2-10 just takes the fun out of everything. Again, Henry says, can't wait to meet up with you at the UVA game. I'm really looking forward to that. I got another message last night on social media about some people that I met at the Duke game last year. That's like, hey, we heard you're going to be in Charlottesville. We would love to come meet up with you again. So, man, shout out to those those guys, I can't wait to meet up with them. And, you know, man, it's just, it's the community, right? It's the community that I can't wait to be back a part of. And this was the longest freaking off season in the history of off seasons, just waiting to get that out of the way, man. So really excited to be back with everybody there. Man, I just can't wait. We are so close. You can practically hear the war chant playing right now. Get this out of here. Bama 34-17. We ain't trying to hear that. We ain't trying to hear that. Get that out of here. This is Florida State channel. Let me block them. I'm just playing. But no, man, I'm excited. I can't wait. Can't wait to be in there. Jeff, I will take some pictures inside the stadium and I will post them on our social media channels. That's one of the main reasons why I did actually decide to go to this game, because I really wanted to see it. Wanted to see Doak for myself. I'm going to try and bring my camera and try and get some pictures around it. I don't know with the rain, and obviously they won't let me bring it in because I'm not credentialed media. So we'll do what we can. I even thought about trying to vlog for the first time, Michael. I don't know how that's going to go because I'm not one of those type of people, but we'll see. We'll see. Tyler on the way out says, hi guys, happy Wednesday. Said he's sorry he's late. No worries, man. No worries, man. You'll always be able to go back and watch it. So guys, we're running up on an hour and 40 minutes. I think we're going to probably get ready to call it here. Look, I can't thank you guys enough for showing up to this live stream. We've had good numbers the whole time. We're going to try and work some of these in throughout the season. You know, just kind of the last minute, see how you feel, see how you feel. Everybody, let's come together as a fan community and talk about these games, man. And Michael, the next time me and you talk with everybody here will be in a post-game show after Florida State, Alabama. Hopefully it's just like a chaotic video of me and Michael running out of the stadium. I was thinking about it today, Michael, right? I was like, if we win this game, we have to get out of the stadium and walk all the way to lot 19.
Yep.
I might just start it on my phone, and the audio and video might just have to suck for a few minutes, or we might have to do a two-parter, because if we win, man, the energy is going to be so crazy. I'm going to want to start that afterwards. And if it's not, we're going to dissect what we saw with you guys as well. So make sure you check that out after the game on Saturday. Again, we'll just give us some time to get back to the lot and all that stuff and get started. So, man, just looking forward to it. Again, guys, we have a website, plantthespear.com. You can check out our written articles there. I got a Bama preview over there for you guys if you'd like to read there. We also have some more stuff on the channel with previews, an interview with the Bama guy, and all that type of stuff. So, man, can't say thank you enough, guys, for the support in this one. Just really, really thankful for all you guys coming out here and supporting us on this live stream. I wanted to highlight his comment real quick. Two of my favorites, Go Noles. He's man, really nice guy, always dropping some really nice comments. So again, guys, man, I'm excited.
Let's go.
I'm ready.
Let's go.
As always, Michael, it's Go Noles, baby.
Go
See you guys
baby.
after the game.